Hey guys, today we're going to install Gentoo Linux on Pop! OS, and to prove it to you, this is Pop! OS, not just any Pop! OS, but a live CD of it. So the beauty of Gentoo Linux is that you don't need a specific live CD to install Gentoo. You can use any live CD you want. So I decided to use Pop! OS as part of tradition. Alright, so we're going to configure our uh, our disks. So lsblk. So we're going to use the NVMe SSD, which is the NVMe 0N1. So cgdisk/dev/NVMe 0N1. So make a new one. Default. So we're going to do 1 terabyte. Or actually, no. We're going to do 1 gigabyte. And then type in the code EF00, EFI partition, and then press enter for the first sector, and then 1 terabyte or 1T, and then we're going to do capital L. We're going to look for Linux x86-64 root, so it's 8304 as we can see here, and type in 8304, type in the name, which is just a / for root, and then we're going to type in new, press enter for the default sector, and then we're going to type in 800 G's, because that's how rich we are, just kidding, and then type in L, look for home partition, which is Linux home 8302, as we can see right here. So 8302, actually 8302, it's going to be /home, and then we're going to make a new partition for our swap. Keep it default, capital L, very good. And now we look for our Linux swap thing, Linux swap 8200, very good. So type in 8200 swap, and we name it. So now we got 4 partitions on our NVMe 0 and 1. So remember that, we're going to need that. So we're going to write yes, and then we're going to quit it. And now we're going to go and format our drives, or our partitions actually. So lsblk, as you can see, our NVMe SSD has 4 partitions right here. So right, so we're going to mkfs.fat -f 32 /dev NVMe 0 and 1, which is our SSD part 1. which is our partition, our first partition, and then mkfs.ext4 /dev nvme 0 and 1 part 2 for our root, and then we're going to format our home directory, which is /dev /nvme 0 and 1 part 3. There we go. And now we're going to mkswap /dev /nvme 0 and 1 part 4. There we go. So now we can move on to the next thing, is mounting the root partition. So we're gonna mkdir parents /mnt /gentoo, and then we're gonna mount our partition, which is mount /dev /nvme 01 part 2 space mnt /gentoo, and then we're going to create our EFI directory, which is mkdir parents -mnt gentoo /EFI, and then we're going to mount our boot directory, or our boot partition, sorry, /dev /nvme 0 and 1 part 1 space /mnt gentoo /EFI. Very good. And then we're going to install our stage file. So you have a choice between OpenRC or systemd. And I'm going to use systemd because I'm a basic bitch. So, jokes aside, we're going to go with the graphical browser. So we're going to go to the download section. And then we're going to hit it up to our stage file. Stage file, desktop profile, systemd. Copy the link. Make sure it's the correct link. Desktop profile, systemd. cd into our root partition, which is mnt /gentoo, and then wget Control Shift V to paste our link, and we return to the wiki. And we just wait. You can verify and validate it. Usually it can be skipped, but I would recommend you do it to check the integrity. And then we're going to type in this command, tar xpvf stage 3 minus star, which is a wildcard, which is stage 3 AMD 64 desktop system D 2025, etc., .tar.xz. X address include numeric owner c/mnt/gentoo. We're going to let that extract. And now we're going to nano/mnt gentoo etc portage make.conf. We're going to add our common flags, So mark native, space in that, Control O, and then we're going to add our Rust flags to our make.conf. And then Control O to save, Control X, and we move on to the next step. And then we're going to copy the DNS info. This command is important so we can be able to run internet into our chroot. Very good. And now we're going to mount the necessary file system. So since we are in Pop! OS livecd, we need to mount these. So just copy, paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Each command is necessary because if none of them is mounted, then you're screwed. So remember, each command must be inputted. Takes patience, it's okay. You see how fun this is? Installing Gentoo on a live environment. You can do things easier. Work smarter, not harder. I do admit that I did it on the live CD. You only see no graphical user interface. But that's just another story. So let's make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good. And since we are in a live CD that is not Gentoo, we have to copy and paste this, copy and paste this, and chmod. There we go. And then we're going to chroot into our system, chroot /mnt/gentoo/bin/bash, and then source/etc profile, and then export ps1, blah 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 blah, yada yada, nada de mamadas. There we go. And now we lsblk to see if everything's mounted. Notice that nothing is mounted. So mkdir slash, or ls actually. So mount slash dev nvme 0 and 1 part 3 space home, and then swap on slash dev slash nvme 0 and 1 part 4. And there we go. We have already mounted our EFI partition. Our root partition obviously needs to be mounted, or unless we would not be chrooted. And we have our home partition, separate home partition, just to keep things halal or kosher, if you roll that way. And then we're going to emerge WebRSync. Emerge WebRSync. I recommend that you do this only once, and if you want to do it again, wipe out the whole system because you should not do this twice. Only do this once. And then we're going to eSelect our profiles. So eSelect profile list. And we're going to choose GNOME systemd. So default Linux AMD 64, desktop GNOME systemd. So it's number 26. So eSelect profile set 26. You select profile list to check again to verify that we selected the correct profile. And we did. As you can see, this little asterisk right here, or that little star. And now we're going to configure our use variables. Obviously, it's already set up for our profiles. And then next, we're going to merge our CPU ID to CPU flags. So emerge, ask, one shot, CPU ID to CPU flags. Oh, I guess we got an error. Maybe there's an error in nano slash etc portage make.conf. Ah, there it is. We have to mark equals native. So control O, control X, and it should be able to fix it. And there we go. This is why I don't like using nano. I like using Vim. So we're going to install that next, but first we're going to echo our use flags to our etc portage package.use directory, and there we go. And now we're going to echo NVIDIA, and we're going to pipe, and we're going to do that towards 00 video underscore cards. So cd slash etc portage package dot use cat 00. There we go. Perfect. And now we're gonna echo to, but first we're gonna echo actually instead of echoing we should just nano slash etc portage make.conf, copy and paste, the accept license. Control Shift V, Control O to save, Control X, and then we're going to update the world, as they say, Zawardo. So emerge, ask, verbose, update, changed, use, deep at world. It's going to take a good minute, especially for GCC to compile. So I'll see you in a bit. Now that it's almost done, we're going to emerge, ask, deep clean our packages after updating the world. So emerge, ask, or ask, deep clean, yes. And there we go. Always do this after updating the world. Emerge deep clean, so you don't get any file collisions or package collisions. So we're gonna update our time zone. So ls-l/usr share zone info US, and I live in the Pacific time zone, so ln-sf/usr share zone info US Pacific/etc local time. And now we're going to update our locale, so nano slash etc locale dot gen. English US UTF-8, Control O, Control X, and then locale dash gen. And then we're going to select our profile or our locale. So E select locale list. So it's number 4. So E select locale set 4. There we go. And then we're going to env update our chroot environment, which is this command right here needed. There we go. Now we're going to get to the fun part, which is configuring the kernel. So we're going to emerge ask Linux firmware. Let that emerge. EFI stub. So, yeah. We just assume that we don't need this. And we probably don't. So, we have our options to install our bootloader, either grub or systemd boot, or formerly known as gummy boot. So, we're gonna install systemd boot because I'm feeling it. So cd/etc portage package.use, and then we're gonna nano slash systemd or nano systemd sys apps systemd boot, Control O, Control X, Control X, nope. And then we're gonna write nano install kernel, and then we're gonna sys kernel / install kernel systemd boot, Control O, see if it's all correct. Very good. And then we're going to set up our initramfs. So nano install kernel, set up the use flag for dracket, so we can set up our initramfs. Control O to save, Control X to exit. And then we're going to install a kernel. So we have three options. You can do full automation approach, distribution kernel, full manual approach, or hybrid approach for gen kernel. We're going to do full automation approach with distribution kernel. So we can get more noobs into Gentoo, if you know what I'm saying. Alright. So we're going to emerge, ask Gentoo kernel minus bin. I don't know if an error is going to pop up, but that's the beauty of Gentoo. You don't know what you're going to get. You just gotta keep on being positive. I ran this many times to know that there's an error with dracket or the building of the initramfs. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'll show you how when an error appears, if an error appears. So like when you're installing Gentoo, it is important that you follow the handbook to the T. This is your guide. I would say that it's better or as good as the Arch Wiki. The reason why I install systemd is because you can be able to apply similar commands from the Arch Wiki to your Gentoo install. So systemctl, journalctl, all that good stuff. Right here, you should be getting an error any minute now. Oh, guess I'm wrong. Thank God. And now with the post install, we're gonna nano -etc portage make.conf and use equals quotation marks dist minus kernel. This will help us automate everything. Control O, Control S, and then emerge, ask at module rebuild or module rebuild. And then after that, so emerge config Gentoo kernel /bin. And now we can skip down all the way. And now we're going to edit our FS tab. So we're going to nano, or actually first clear the OK ID, or LSBOK. There should be a better command. fdisk /l dv nvme. Alright. Instead of using their UUIDs, we're just going to use the dev/nvme, etc. So nano /etc fstab /dev nvme 0 and 1 part 1 /efi. Remember that we set it up to EFI, type vfat, and then umask equals 0077, comma tz equals utc, capital UTC, tz equals capital UTC, and then 0 2, and then /dev/nvme 0 and 1 part 1 part 2 /root ext4, and then we're going to do default, comma null time, and then 0 1, and then Control O to save what we saved so far, /dev and nvme 0 and 1 part 3 /home ext4 default null time. Make sure there's not any typos. 0 1 /dev nvme 0 and 1 part 4, none because it's a swap partition, and then swap sw 0 0. So Control O, and then Control, just make sure that everything is all in order, because this will make or break your install. If this has any typos at all, you're not going to be able to boot. But don't worry, There's always solutions. Keep on striving. Control X. And then we're going to name our host name. So it's going to be host name CTL host name Montevideo, which is in Uruguay. Now we're going to install Network Manager. So we're going to do emerge ask Network Manager. You don't need the minus sign. And then we're going to let that install. Just a week of COVID is not fun, but at least I don't need a ventilator. Thank God. Or need to be hospitalized. Excuse me. 10 more packages to go. Alright, now install. We're going to do systemctl enable network manning with both capital N and M respectively. No spaces. And then we're going to edit our host file. So nano/etc hosts. And as you can remember, our username is Montevideo. So Montevideo period home network Montevideo space localhost. And we do the same thing. Make sure there's no typos. Home network. There we go. Control O, Control X. And then we're going to set our password for our root. So PSSWD. Super secret password. If we can type it right. There we go. And then systemd machine ID setup. Systemd first boot prompt. Press any key to proceed. And please enter a new key map or a number. US. Please enter the host name. Montevideo. Alright. And then systemctl preset all. Preset mode equals enable only. And then we move on. We install our tools. So emerge ask DOS FS tools, so we can read our FAT partition or our boot partition since we're in a UEFI system. E2 FS progs to read ext4 files, or ext4 partitions actually. Bash completion for ease of use. Hit enter. Let that install for a bit. And then for next, we go to time synchronization. We're going to use systemd to sync our time. So systemctl enable systemd timesyncd.service. Paste that. And since that we have an NVMe SSD, we're going to do emerge ask IO scheduler udev rules. And also, for quicker file indexing, we're going to do mlocate, emerge as mlocate. And then we're going to configure the bootloader. Since we're using systemd boot, which is a pain in the ass to configure, but I decided to because why not? And we're gonna systemd boot Gentoo. Alrighty. Installation to ESP. Let's make sure that our EFI variables are there. Very good. And then boot ctl install. And then boot ctl status. Gentoo Linux EFI loader. Alright, we got, if this says Gentoo Linux, we should be able to boot. And now, we're going to skip all of this, but we made it to the end of it. Congratulations, you just officially installed Gentoo. But we're going to go to finalizing, clear, and then you're going to user add -m capital G users wheel audio plug dev, so you can be able to do your Arduino stuff and flash him. -s flash bin /bash my username or any username of choice. I decided to go with Ticklish, and then passwd Ticklish. It did not match. There we go. And then we're going to / stage 3 tab. And that's about it. So I'll see you on the other side.
All right. So we're going to go to our boot menu, go into Linux Boot Manager, cross our fingers that it works. All right. So as you can see, we're able to log in. So if you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, tell me why. And I hope you have a good one. Bye.